Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's partner web conference, Driving Your Profits and Reducing Risks for You and Your Customer in the Remote Work World. My name is Laura, and I'm going to be your moderator today. We are broadcasting this web conference through Teams live events, and the audio can be heard through your device speakers. Today's web conference is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation. Participation in the meeting today indicates your consent to being included in the meeting recording. Attendees may access the web conference recording via a link that will be delivered by email within 7 business days. If you have questions for the presenters or need support, please use the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen. We do have presenters standing by to answer your questions throughout the session. Now, a little bit more about this presentation. This web conference has been brought to you by the Microsoft 365 Partner Marketing Team. This presentation will be approximately 50 to 55 minutes in length, and our presenters will then switch over to Q&A and start addressing any unanswered questions. We'd like to thank you in advance for your patience while they work through those. If you find that your question was not answered or would like more follow-up, you can also head over to the Microsoft 365 Yammer group and post your question there. We will share that Yammer link in the Q&A panel momentarily. Now, on to the presentation. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Neha Bhaskar, Senior Product Marketing Manager. Neha, over to you.
Thank you so much, Laura. Hello, everyone. I'm Neha Bhaskar from the Microsoft 365 Small and Medium Business Product Marketing Team, and it's really great to be here with you. The world has changed a lot in the last few months for both you and your customers. As a partner, you've been on the front lines of much of this change, transitioning customers to remote work even as you deal with increased IT complexity and cyber threats while trying to manage costs. But this new world also presents an opportunity to accelerate your customers' digital transformation and elevate the security of their remote work environments. So today, we are going to be talking about ways to help you grow and manage risk in this new environment while reducing cost and complexity for you and your customers. I'm really excited to be joined today by two very special guests. Paul Dippell, CEO of Service Leadership, who'll use data and insights to walk us through how the most successful partners are driving profitability and how standardizing on solutions could help drive the next era of growth and managed services for you. And then Martin Liljenberg, CTO of WeSafe, will give us a real-world example of how they're using Microsoft 365 Business Premium as a foundation to build a successful managed service practice. Plus, we have Tim Sinclair and John Orton from our engineering and product marketing teams respectively, who will be handling Q&A via the chat window you see on screen. So keep your questions coming over there. All right. So let's get started with the presentation. As I mentioned before, as a partner, you're now dealing with an IT landscape that looks very different from what it looked like even a few months ago. There's disruption of old business models and traditional licensing revenue streams caused by changes in how your customers work. Most of them are now working from home and are shifting their entire businesses online. Plus, with increased work from home comes increased IT complexity and security risks, with the FBI actually estimating a 3 to 5x increase in cyber attacks targeted at SMBs post-COVID. All of this really leads to three questions that we hear most often from partners like you. One, how can you continue to grow your business by tapping into the current shift to remote work and add value for your customers? Two, how do you manage risk and provide your customers with the security they need in a distributed work environment? And three, what are the best ways to reduce cost and complexity for you and your customers in the face of economic uncertainty? Despite the challenges we face, our biggest takeaway during this time is that the rapid shift to secure remote work presents a huge opportunity for partners to help our SMB customers and grow our businesses together. For example, usage of video conferencing is expected to increase 184%. And 90% of SMB customers say they would switch managed service providers if they provided a more comprehensive cyber security solution. So that's really a real opportunity. The good news is that at Microsoft, we have an offering that can really help you meet this moment with Microsoft 365 Business Premium. As you can see, Microsoft 365 Business Premium is our most comprehensive remote work offering for small and mid-sized businesses, which combines the power of office productivity tools with advanced security and management in a cost-effective package. So let's take a closer look at this. Microsoft 365 Business Premium is an integrated toolkit for small and medium businesses. It includes Office apps and services, collaboration tools like Teams, as well as tools to enable remote access and protect identity, defend against cyber threats and data loss, and easily secure your devices. So let's briefly review the capabilities of Microsoft 365 Business Premium that can help you as a partner deliver a better and more comprehensive remote work experience for your customers. Now that remote work is here to stay, businesses are looking for ways to do it better. That brings us to Microsoft Teams. The key reason to use Teams rather than a bunch of separate products is that it's one place to collaborate. Recently, we interviewed 30 customers and asked what they like best about Teams. The most common answer wasn't a feature. It was, in fact, the benefit of having everything in one place. With Teams, you get one place to access your apps for video conferencing, chat, and co-author documents, one place to access shared files and history of conversations, and an integrated app experience that you can customize for a business's workflow. And what this integrated solution delivers is less time switching between apps and more time being productive. Speaking of integrated, Microsoft 365 Business Premium comes with advanced security technology that is used by many of our large enterprise customers. It's powerful, but also simple for you as the IT partner to deploy and manage. Enabling secure access is really the first step towards enabling security of remote work. With Microsoft 365 BP, you already had advanced Azure AD capabilities like multi-factor authentication and conditional access to protect against lost or stolen passwords and provide the right people with the right access to work apps. Additionally, we've recently added the full capabilities of Azure AD Premium P1. And with this, you get the benefit of powerful new features like App Proxy that helps employees remotely access on-premises web apps without the need to open broad access to a company's network. In fact, we've seen a number of our partners develop remote work solutions with App Proxy. Another key area of growth for partners has been enabling remote desktop access with Windows Virtual Desktop. With Windows Virtual Desktop, employees can access any remote app on any device, while you can maintain central management and security of a user's desktop. Some of the ways in which partners are deploying Windows Virtual Desktop are, for example, medical binners and transcriptionists can use Office apps and their electronic health record app in a secure cloud environment, while all the sensitive patient data remains in a secure central location. Another example might be a warehouse situation where warehouse workers can access desktop shipping and inventory apps from their iOS and Android devices. All right. So next, let's talk about how you can protect against cyber threats and secure sensitive data. Sensitive data comes in many forms. It can be personal customer details or payment information, employee records, medical records, contract details, etc. Microsoft 365 Business Premium has layered protection for your sensitive data. With advanced threat protection, you can defend against cyber threats like phishing and ransomware in links and attachments, whether those links are shared in email or in Teams chats or in OneDrive files. You can protect against data leaks with DLP and can control access to email and files using Azure Information Protection and encryption. Plus, with employees working remotely, you probably want to gain visibility into the cloud apps that employees in a customer organization are using to store and share information. You can do so with Cloud App Discovery, which gives you visibility into the risk shadow IT poses in an organization. Finally, let's talk about securing devices. Managing the work data that ends up on mobile devices such as phones and tablets that employees own is critical to maintaining security and control as employees work from home. With Intune app protection policies, you can, for example, specify that work files can only be saved on a work share versus a personal share, And with mobile device management, you can quickly set policies and remotely wipe data from lost or stolen devices. Another key aspect is provisioning and reprovisioning devices quickly. Partners like you can save a lot of time and money using Autopilot for zero-touch provisioning of Windows 10 devices using Autopilot. I hope all of this has given you a good overview of how Microsoft 365 Business Premium brings together a comprehensive remote work toolkit, integrating collaboration solutions with layered identity data and device protection. Next, let's look at the business case for partners to switch to Microsoft 365 Business Premium and how it can help you drive growth and profitability. First, Microsoft 365 Business Premium helps you elevate the security of your customers' remote work environment. Most of you are probably selling Office 365 or what we now call Microsoft 365 Business Standard or Business Basic. With Microsoft 365 Business Premium, you have the opportunity to offer a more complete remote work solution with security that's integrated with Office and Teams. We know that SMBs are increasingly the target of cyber attacks. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, 90% of them say they would switch MSPs if they offered better security. Microsoft 365 Business Premium offers you an easy way to elevate the baseline security for your customers and manage risk, plus reach new higher margin customers. Secondly, you can grow your revenue even further by building value-added services on top of Microsoft 365 BP. What our most successful partners are doing is using Microsoft 365 Business Premium as a foundation on top of which they've built successful high margin managed service practices. Because this solution contains everything from Teams to Azure AD to Intune, what it can provide you is a roadmap to build ongoing managed services for your customers as you light up new services for them every few months. So for example, you may start lighting up Teams and conditional access, but then start managing the devices with Intune a few months later as part of a broader device lifecycle offering. It does really create a nice flywheel and virtual cycle of new value for your customers and recurring revenue for you. Martin later on will also share some real-world examples in the presentation. Finally, it can help you reduce cost and complexity. Because Microsoft 365 Business Premium is an integrated productivity and security solution that's designed to work well together, it saves your workforce time from having to learn multiple solutions or try to get disparate point solutions to work together. And it's a cost-effective package. For only $7.50 more than Business Standard, you get all the capabilities I showed earlier, something that would easily cost you over $40 for you to go to point solutions. Plus, with an integrated admin console and step-by-step guided wizards, it's easy to deploy and get started with, and you have to deal with only one billing and licensing. So I briefly touched upon how partners can really tap into the remote work opportunity by using an integrated solution like Microsoft 365 Business Premium as a foundation to build managed service offerings. My perspective is based on speaking with partners over the last few months. But let me now introduce you to someone who's a true expert in the area of partner profitability, who crunches the numbers from thousands of partners. So next, I'll invite Paul to walk us through what he's seeing in his analysis of what the most successful partners are doing to grow. Over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Neha. I appreciate it very much. Someday somebody will document the huge effort that solution providers made worldwide to airlift all of their clients into Microsoft's cloud in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the COVID lockdown. It really was an immense effort, and I think a lot of solution provider teams put in long days making that happen, and I believe they helped save a lot of companies and a lot of jobs as a result. So there's a chapter in the history of computing that I think needs to be memorialized at some point. In our past lives running our own solution provider firms, we built VARs and MSPs up to a couple of billion in revenue or turnover. And in our current mission of benchmarking thousands of solution providers around the world, we know that the environment that end users and the solution provider teams operate in play a big role in the security and productivity of both groups, not just the end customers, but also the managed service providers or VARs support teams. And this is why Microsoft 365 Business Premium can be so important. I'm going to refer to it as M365 BP as we go along, Neha. So here's what I mean. As you know, we not only confidentially measure our solution provider clients' financial performance, we also objectively measure what we call their operational maturity level. It's a fancy word we made up, and it means the degree to which the given MSP or VAR uses the operating methods of their high-performing peers or their low-performing peers. This is a 1 to 5 scale. So for MSPs, we measure about 60 aspects of their management methods across service and sales and finance and strategy and compensation. And the higher the operational maturity level, or OML, typically the better their profitability, the better their growth, and the better the customer experience they provide. And you can see on this chart the 5 levels of operational maturity and some of the characteristics of them. As you can see, getting to higher OML is all about increased control, increased accountability, and increased efficiency across the organization. So let's go ahead and dive into that a little bit. Excuse me. Here is the distribution of MSPs around the world in terms of operational maturity level from 2005 to 2019, the most recent stats that we've developed. And as you can see, in 2019, about 30% of MSPs are somewhere in operational maturity level 1 and 2, which means they're struggling to grow, they're struggling to produce profit, they're struggling to create an excellent customer experience, they're struggling to scale. About 25% or so in 2019 were at the operational maturity level of 4 or 5, which means that they're doing quite well at growth, profitability, creating a differentiated and excellent customer experience, scaling, and so on and so forth. And then the balance of them are somewhere at OML 3 in between. So these are the proportions of MSPs that are in each level of operational maturity. The average profitability after owner compensation of the MSPs in the OML 4 and 5 groups, this is the average profitability after owner compensation is taken from the income statement, was 18.9%. And their average growth in 2019 was 14.2% in turnover or revenue. The average profitability of those of the OML 3 group was about half that, and their growth was about 2/3 of that. What this means, Neha, is that operational maturity level matters, right? And so if we take a look at some of the characteristics of being at higher operational maturity, they are clearly an intentional effort on the part of the MSP to become higher in standardization. And that's standardization in 2 different ways. One is getting every customer that they have on the same technology stack. And the reason that that's important, of course, is that it enables a significant reduction in operational complexity for the MSP, which allows them to hire less skilled and therefore less expensive people. It allows them to build simpler and less expensive processes to operate. And it allows them to provide a smoother and more enjoyable, more differentiated customer experience. The other thing that they drive heavily towards standardization is the use of the tool set that their operating teams use, that their service desk and their NOC and their field people use. The more integrated that tool set can be, again, the same benefits accrue to them. They can use less skilled, less expensive people, they can provide better service at lower cost, and they can scale more effectively. So it's these 2 aspects of standardization which really make a key difference in terms of the solution provider's ability to scale profitability, customer experience, differentiation in the marketplace, and so on. So the closer that the MSP can get to 100% standard across all clients, exponentially the greater the MSP's benefits in terms of scalability, profitability, service quality, and customer experience. That second aspect is the degree to which the solution provider's tech team has gotten their tool set down to a single integrated foundational set of tools, or as close as practically possible. Obviously, this has material operational cost benefits. First of all, it reduces training cost. Fewer panes of glass mean less need for training on management systems. Second, that less training means that new hires can be put to productive work sooner. Less training time, less partnering time, those new hires can go to work sooner, and that benefits cost and scalability. Third, the fewer panes of glass can mean a lower average wage per technical person. A simpler management tool set often means that lower skilled people can use it effectively. From our Service Leadership Index benchmarking, we can see the profitability results of that in this next slide. So here you can see the managed services gross margin of the solution providers who are either high or low in standardizing their tool set and high and low in standardizing the technology used by their customers. And it's obviously pretty stark, right? In the upper right, you see the folks that have attained high standardization on both those scales have an average managed service gross margin of 52.4%. This is in the most recent year, 2019. Those who haven't attained much in the way of standardization on either of those two scales have a managed service gross margin of 41.3%, about 11% lower. If their overhead costs are the same, Neha, that means that the partners in the upper right made 10% more at the bottom line than the partners at the lower left. It also typically means that they're operating at a more competitive price despite the fact that they have higher margins. As you know, Neha, a solution provider's people are its greatest assets, but also its highest cost. So anything that can be done to reduce that cost means that the solution provider is safer financially in these challenging times. And it also means they could be more competitive in the marketplace. They could grow faster, they can save or provide more jobs, they can help more end customer businesses be productive and secure. I should mention that lower performing solution providers unfortunately often believe that a high degree of standardization across their clients and across their tool set isn't possible. Interestingly, the high performing solution providers bake the value of standardization to the client into all of their messaging, starting right from their marketing through their sales process and into their account management regime. Standardization of what the clients are running and of the tool set is a central focus of the relationship. And that's because of the leverage it gives the solution provider in delivering a great protected experience at a reasonable price and a profit and a fair profit. This degree of standardization is a win-win. It's a win for the end customers and it's a win for the solution provider. And that's the best way to run a managed service operation, as you know. Microsoft 365 Business Premium helps solve these standardization problems or challenges in a number of ways. Of course, Microsoft manages a large part of the technology stack. Interestingly, however, as the solution provider's operational maturity goes up, two other things go up. One is how much they charge their customers for the services portion of what they provide. Here's the most recent data on managed services fee per user per month by operational maturity level of the MSP for the small and medium business space. This applies regardless of geography or the MSP's size. So what you can see here is as the MSP gets higher in operational maturity for the same set of services wrapped around the same set of technology, and in this case, wrapped around the same set of cloud technology, you can see that their fee per user per month goes up materially. This is one way that they're more profitable. The only way end customers are going to pay this additional amount is if they're getting the value from the MSP. There's no other reason. So the higher in operational maturity, the better at conveying that value, the better at delivering a differentiated customer experience, even around the same cloud technology stack. The other thing that goes up with the solution provider's operational maturity level is their profitability, as you can see in this chart. In green is the top quartile MSPs. This is the bottom line profitability after owner fair market compensation that would get you into the top 1/4 of MSPs worldwide. The yellow is the median. Half of MSPs made more at the bottom line than the yellow bar, half made less. And the red, unfortunately, is the bottom quartile. So 1/4 of MSPs worldwide, again, regardless of their size or their geography or what have you, 1/4 of them unfortunately made less than the red bar amount. You can see in Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 of 2019, even the bottom quartile MSPs were profitable. And that's because a strong economy, as if you will, raises all boats. Unfortunately, in Q1, the economy started to slow down a little bit of the COVID-19 effect. And then in Q2, as COVID took effect, you can see the economy slowed down. And there's an interesting divergence of results here. In the beginning of recessions, and this is true of past recessions as well, the high-performing solution providers tend to perform better. They tend to react more quickly to the situation. They tend to have better information about themselves and their companies and their customers. They tend to make better decisions and they tend to execute them more effectively. The lower performing solution providers tend to have less good information about their organization. They tend to be less effective at decision making, and they tend to be less effective execution. So this divergence of profit performance, and it's also, by the way, a divergence of revenue performance, is common to the beginning of recessions. That doesn't mean that the red bar group doesn't turn around. They certainly do, but it usually takes 3, 4, 5 quarters. So let's see what we can learn from the top performers that help them perform so well going into this recession. If we take a look at the average operational maturity level, you can see, excuse me, the high performers are indeed those who have the highest profitability and also, although you can't see it on this chart, the best revenue growth under these conditions. Let's see what we can learn from these high performers in terms of how they adapted to the rapidly changing situation. And let's focus especially on cloud resale. This next chart, you can see the growth in revenue from cloud resale, such as M365BP, in 2 groups of MSPs. The green line is those MSPs in the top quartile of profitability, and the red line is those MSPs in the bottom quartile of profitability. Right? You will see, of course, that the folks who are in the top quartile of profitability grew their cloud resale business in dollar terms or in unit terms pretty significantly over the last 8 quarters. You can also see that the MSPs in the bottom quartile of profitability basically flatlined their cloud resale revenue or turnover. This is really a challenge for them because as we go into the COVID situation, of course, one of the safest things to do for end customers is move them into the cloud. And the top performing MSPs clearly did this. Just in 1 quarter, although their cloud resale revenue had already been increasing, they further accelerated their sales of cloud, such as M365BP. And you can see that they increased their revenue coming from cloud resale by 13.1% in just 1 quarter, while the bottom profitability MSPs unfortunately decelerated their sales of cloud in this time. As you can see, the faster growth, higher profit solution providers in the MSP business model have a materially more aggressive approach to cloud resale because it benefits them and their customers. But Neha, M365BP helps drive standardization in other ways as well. Obviously, for the end user, M365 provides a full range of applications. This means the solution provider doesn't need to piece together an applications and collaboration and security suite from multiple vendors. As you pointed out, this makes things a lot easier operationally for the, for the solution provider. In addition, however, M365 provides a full suite of security and systems management tools to be used by the solution provider to protect and manage the customer's environment. Both the end customer and the solution provider benefit from that integrated suite, which enables providing a better customer experience and a better experience for the IT service professionals in the MSP. Simplicity and power are combined here. Unfortunately, managed service providers are increasingly the targets of bad actors who are looking to use them to gain access to large numbers of end customer networks. I don't need to tell you, Neha, what Microsoft has invested in keeping its cloud customers secure. Lastly, there's a final aspect of the business benefits of M365BP to solution providers that I'd like to share. Interestingly, when you look at the factors that cause the biggest up or down changes in a VAR's or MSP's profitability from month to month, it's the degree to which their project services teams are fully utilized. Even if they're an MSP, clicking along with lots of recurring revenue and driving good profitability, the biggest impact on the change in that profitability from month to month and quarter to quarter is the degree to which their project teams are productively utilized. And the same thing is true of VARs. Those project teams are expensive, they're necessary, and if we can keep them busy, we're going to have a lot stronger bottom line. So let me give you an example. I was working last week with a higher operational material level $23 million MSP whose managed service operation is running near best in class in gross margin profitability, about 48% gross margin in managed services over the last 4 quarters. Yet their bottom line is below median. And here you can see their income statement. Excuse me, this is one of the thousands of folks we benchmark. So if you think you know who this is, you don't. So here you can see they do a good job in managed service gross margin, 47.8% over the last 4 quarters, but their project services, which I highlighted in green, make up about 17% of their revenue, but they're only getting about 28.6% gross margin from those project services. And so you can see that bottom line of 2% versus, as we talked about before, about 9.5% for median. So they're not in the bottom quartile, but they're running awfully close to 0% bottom line, which is pretty tough at these times. That's pretty dangerous. A key reason for this low performance is that 12% of their technical team, of their technical people, are dedicated to projects and they're underutilized, which means low gross margin. Right, so they've got 1/8 of their people producing low gross margin, and that's basically going to hurt the bottom line. What they need to do is keep this complement of engineers on staff in order to onboard new customers and do upgrade work within the existing customer base, right? They can't not have these project people on their staff. The challenge is they're not busy enough. And here's where M365BP could come in. As you know, M365BP comes with a best-in-class range of applications. In most cases, though, most end customers are initially buying M365 for just a subset of those applications, yet they get all of them. A smart solution provider can create an ongoing positive cadence of incremental value adds for their customers by engaging in project after project to fire up these features in sequence. The customer already has the software, and the projects that to turn them on result in a steady flow of filler utilization for the solution provider's project services team. Even better, these projects can be planned 2 or 3 quarters in advance during the quarterly business reviews, which high OML solution providers have with all of their managed service customers. Use M365BP as the foundation for improving your PS practice profitability by sequentially lighting up the features and capabilities in M365 for each customer. As you can see, their project teams are only producing about 28% gross margin. Best in class of their business model for project services is 42.6%. If they can increase the utilization of their project team enough to get to just average pro services gross margin, about 35%, they'll double their bottom line profit. From their point of view in today's world, it's critical for them to get that additional financial safety. How could M365BP help them and their clients? If by adding M365BP and programming the firing up of additional features for their clients, they can add just 1.5 average projects per year per engineer, just 1.5 average projects for each of their engineers a year, they can increase their pro services gross margin from 28 to 35%. They don't even have to get to best in class, and yet in doing so, they add nearly $500,000 to the PS team's revenue. And that $500,000 flows directly to the bottom line. As you can see, just adding 1.5 projects of their average size for each one of their PS engineers, they've gone from a thin bottom line 2% to nearly double 3.7% bottom line profitability. This is a near doubling of their profit to $887,000, a much safer situation for them in these times. And I should mention, for every M365 module they heat up for a client, they can incrementally charge more for managed services. I know I'm making it sound easy, Neha and Martin, and it's not. They have a lot of hard work to do. But the M365 BP platform provides them a lot of leverage and safety for both themselves and for their end customers. Now, I've shown you through data how an integrated solution like M365 BP could serve as a foundation for building a managed service practice that operates closer to best-in-class financial performance. Let's see what it looks like through an example. I'm going to hand the microphone over to Martin from WeSafe to show how he's using M365 Business Premium to build a managed service practice that has helped them add value to customers and grow their revenue and profits even in these challenging times. Martin?
Thank you, Paul. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here. I am Martin Liljenberg, CTO and founder of WeSafe. WeSafe IT started 7 years ago, based in Sweden and focusing exclusively on Microsoft cloud services. Initially with the Office 365 platform and then moving on to the Microsoft 365 platform and Microsoft Azure. We have over 300 customers ranging from 10 to 3,000 employees across different sectors. For managed services, we primarily work with customers who are in the 20 to 200 employee range. I want to talk to you about our journey to a managed services model based on Microsoft 365, which really helped us dramatically increase our profits and position us well for the remote work world. So when we started out in 2013, we had a traditional model of reselling licenses, adding support and other on-site consultancy services, but based on the Office 365 cloud platform. So this is what we looked like in 2017. Most, i.e. 2/3 of our revenue came from one-time project work, which really consisted of migration work, break and fix support, SharePoint development, training, etc. We realized that many of the things we delivered would soon become less consultant dependent in the future, and more will be built into the platform. So we quickly realized that this model was not sustainable. We saw a decrease in profit per user and a decrease in need for consultancy service and support. Once legacy IT was removed, the support and consultancy needs decreased. So, for example, we had over 1 hour support per user per month to the current below 10 minutes per user per month. So this is especially true today, where many SMB customers are shutting down offices and opting for a fully remote work setup. So what we decided to do was to shift to a more sustainable managed and packaged services model, where we would deliver more value-added services to customers with no or low-code solutions to enable us to be very agile with our development. So when Microsoft 365 Business Premium was released, we found a perfect foundation on top of which to build our managed services practice. So here's what we did. Because as Neha said, Microsoft 365 Business Premium is an integrated security, compliance, and productivity solution. What that allowed us to do was to build a more comprehensive managed services practice that so we were able to meet the broader customer need. As you can see, we were able to build new managed services from security as a service, compliance as a service, to remote access with Windows Virtual Desktop. All of those has the baseline licenses included in the Microsoft 365 Business Premium. So we build our solutions based by identifying gaps on the platform and then building add-on value. But we built the business and the solutions such that we are ready to discard and change the service as the platform changes. and we don't invest in third-party solutions or tools that we believe will be developed on the platform. So with our managed services, our goal has been to build expert solutions once and be able to deliver that to many customers, lowering our price per customer and per user. And this has led to a sharp increase in profitability and revenue for us, with increased net profit from 7.5% to current 18%, and revenue growth year on year at approximately 30%.
Wow, Martin, that sounds amazing. Can you walk us through what a typical Microsoft 365 Business Premium customer deployment looks like and how you add value with managed services?
Sure. Let me show you what a typical customer deployment looks like now with the managed services built on top of Microsoft 365 Business Premium. Because Microsoft 365 Business Premium contains everything from Teams to Azure AD to Intune, what it can provide you is a roadmap to build ongoing services for your customers. As Paul says, as you light up new features, and as you start moving the customers forward, we can increase our offering for them as the platform develops. Here, for example, we started a customer deployment with Office, Teams, SharePoint, and OneDrive for productivity and collaboration. This customer also needed Windows Virtual Desktop for enabling some of the remote workforce to access work apps as they work from home. So that gave us the opportunity to package Azure consumption along with Windows Virtual Desktop. We also built Power Apps for the organization for contract management, employee onboarding, for example. Then over the next few months, we secured the customers' desktops and mobile devices through Intune mobile app management and mobile device management policies, and also increased the security with comprehensive threat protection using ATP. But what we also created was a need for ongoing device management. So we offered our managed device service, which includes support, hardware refresh, standardization, provisioning, and lifecycle management.
So what this really created for you was a flywheel and a virtuous cycle of ongoing projects and opportunity to further drive your customers' digital transformation through value-added services. That's really amazing.
That is correct, Neha. We see huge opportunities with the platform on this. So the next phase, we built the framework, for example, for handling security on the platform, taking care of the security for devices and the Microsoft 365 environment. But also in line with that, Azure developed some more security features, so we could start offering security for their Azure environment as well as their on-prem environment.
Thanks so much, Martin. This really is great to see and gives a nice roadmap for partners on how they can add recurring value to their customers with managed services built on top of Microsoft 365 Business Premium.
Yes, it really does. And I'd like to show you some of the effect that this has had on our business fundamentals through a few charts.
All right.
So what this slide shows you is that we have substantially increased our recurring revenue in 2020 with 2/3 of our revenue mix from 1/3 of our revenue mix back in 2017, which is when we start making this change. Plus our package services revenue contribution increased to 21% from 5%. So this gives us a more predictable income even in the face of economic uncertainty. And because we have a standardized offering with Microsoft 365, it's easy for us to build standardized managed service solutions across multiple customers. So our marginal costs are low. And it also means that we have a predictable cost for and offerings for our customers. So it's easy to adjust cost increase and decrease in line with this model for all our services. And what's more, managed services have really helped us tap into remote work during this pandemic. All our managed services are centrally managed, and the data is collected natively from the Microsoft Cloud Platform. Configuration, installation, and troubleshooting, for example, is also done remotely. So this also resulted in a substantial increase in revenue per employee and net income per employee. In fact, revenue per employee is projected to increase 60% 2020 compared to 2017, and profitability per employee is projected to increase to 250% in 2020 compared to 2017. Because of that, we're well positioned to help our customers to shift to remote work. One of our main goals has really been to be a trusted IT provider and delivering based services as security, device management, productivity, etc. And based on that, importantly, it's important to us to help our customers increase profits and productivity using these tools on the Microsoft 365 Business Premium platform.
Thank you so much, Martin. That was very inspiring to see how you've been able to use Microsoft 365 Business Premium as a foundation for a more profitable business. Those are just amazing numbers you showed. 60% increase in revenue per employee and more than 250% increase in profitability per employee. Just amazing. And what we are seeing right now around the globe is that partners like you are really trusting Microsoft 365 Business Premium to power the next era of business transformation for their customers and drive their own growth. In fact, in the last fiscal, Microsoft 365 Business Premium grew 3 times its size, and there are now more than 10,000 partners like you selling Microsoft 365 Business Premium. That is a truly remarkable achievement in just a few years. But it's not just about the top line impact. Microsoft 365 Business Premium is also beneficial to a partner's bottom line. BE Cloud in France, for example, found that they were able to increase customer retention by 50%. Yes, 50% with managed services built on top of Microsoft 365 Business Premium. This improvement also followed down to their profitability, which is so critical in these times. So, are you ready to start your Microsoft 365 Business Premium journey? I want to share some sales and marketing tools we've introduced to help you in your customer conversations. First, we published a Securing Remote Work Kit, which includes customer-ready yet customizable content assets such as an IT checklist, step-by-step guide, pitch deck that you can use in your customer conversations. We've also recently launched a customer consulting tool. It's a simple question-based tool which can help you identify the right productivity, collaboration, remote work, and security needs for your customers as they work from home. At the end of the questionnaire, you get a tailored recommendation in a PowerPoint that you can easily share with your customers. Finally, we've made available a value calculator that helps in licensing discussions with customers by listing various options available, an ROI analysis, and cost savings opportunity for your customers, which again you can share very quickly with customers. If you haven't already checked these assets out, head over to the AKMS link mentioned here for easy access. So in closing, I just want to summarize what we learned today. 1, that increasing IT complexity with work from home and challenging economic climate has created a downward pressure on traditional sources of growth for partners, whether it's licensing or support, and it has increased risk exposure for both customers and partners. However, best-in-class MSPs, like the examples we showed today, have realized that there's a real opportunity here to accelerate their customers' digital transformation and elevate their security as they work remotely with value-added services. And with Microsoft 365 Business Premium, you have an essential foundation for building secure remote work managed services that helps you operate closer to best-in-class financial performance, safety, and customer experience. It's also backed by continuing investments in product capabilities from Microsoft, as well as partner tooling and customer assets that make it easy for you to have customer conversations. So we are now open for any questions that you may have, and I'll ask John if there are any questions that have come up that we should address.
Yeah, Neha, we've got a few. The first one is about this notion of an integrated tool set. How important is it to have an integrated tool set? I get the concept, but it seems like with all the changes going on, a best of breed approach might make more sense. How do you think about those two things?
You're asking me, John?
Yeah, well, I was tossing it out for the group. Paul, you want to take a shot at that one?
Sure, it's a great question. The sort of the pendulum goes back and forth between integrated and best of breed. But if you look at the longer term trends and you look at the solution providers who are most successful at scaling and delivering a differentiated customer experience, they are the ones that go after the integrated tool set. And the reason for that is it just takes an enormous amount of effort to integrate best of breed stuff. There's a whole bunch of DevOps that goes into that. And then there's a whole bunch of training that goes into that. And if you start thinking about the sort of the drag that's created by all of that, it outweighs the actual functional benefits of best of breed. If you look at the top performers, they typically choose the most integrated solution. And then they're the ones that dive most deeply into that integrated solution and make the best use of it. So I would say that's how you want to balance those things. Default to the more integrated and make the investment in going deep into it and really leveraging what it can do, and you'll get the most benefit for yourself and for your customers.
All right. The next question, maybe best for Martin. Someone asked, as we think about how this business premium offering provides that flywheel of additional revenue over time, they were asking, is the per user fee increased as you go through these incremental projects and turn on things, or is this more kind of project-based fees as you go through and do a wave of work?
Great question. No, it's the increase is in the per user fee or customer fee. So the idea is that these add-on services add value to customer and you charge recurring revenue for that. In fact, in many cases, the initial project work might not be something we charge for.
Got it. Makes sense. How about this one? And this may be a Paul question or a Martin question. It seems like as Microsoft continues its improving its products, it's gradually taken over more and more of what used to be a managed service workload. Does that mean that there's inevitably less for me to do and therefore less for me that I can charge for? Paul,
Martin, you want?
Oh,
sure.
Happy
to. You know, it's understandable, but it's actually not an accurate conclusion, and here's why. If you look over the course of technology, you know, call it the last 30-something years that I've been in it, there's a constant effort on the part of the OEMs to drive down total cost of ownership, right? I mean, that's basically what an OEM can bring to the market is either software that helps improve end user productivity or reduce total cost of ownership. Those are the two levers with which they attract new customers or attract customers to renew, right? And so vendors are always working on total cost of ownership, and they are largely successful. In fact, they're fantastically successful, right? They have taken an enormous amount of support work out of the technology stack. And I say that because, you know, in 1950s, when the computer business started, the cost to support a unit of computing effort was probably a couple of million times higher than it is today. Meaning we provide an enormous amount of computing power and capability and productivity to end users for, on a per unit basis, much, much lower support cost. And yet in the middle of all that, right, in the middle of that ongoing battle with total cost of ownership that the vendors pursue, and rightly so, IT department budgets continue to go up. And there continue to be more and more managed service providers and more managed service providers that grow their revenue more and more. So how do you account for this? Well, the fact is that the computing environment is increasing in power and complexity much faster than TCO developments can counteract the cost to run them. The value to the end customer continues to go up because the computing power benefits expand faster than the support costs do, much faster. But from an individual MSP's point of view or an IT department point of view, it just means bigger budgets. The more the customers rely on computing to do their work, the more folks spend on either their IT departments or on their solution provider partners. So this wave of moving things to the cloud has just resulted in MSPs becoming larger, becoming more capable, growing their businesses, and so on. And I expect that trend to continue. On top of that, and then I'll turn the microphone over to Martin. On top of that, as you know, as we move into this increasingly remote work world, Internet of Things becomes even more predominant, even more ubiquitous, and all of those things need to be managed by somebody. And we talk about the increased opportunity to support the work from home user. We're starting to see the first instances of return to work preparation by MSPs, by which I mean there are MSPs that are starting to help their customers install things back at the office, such as touchless entry and exit of the building, such as temperature taking kiosk, such as occupancy sensors, all of which are necessary to battle COVID, and all of which have to be up and running and managed. So the need for managed service provider and for solution provider support continues to expand despite that migration to the cloud. It's just the nature of the business, and thankfully so, because it's a win for the vendors, it's a win for the solution providers, and it's a win for the end customers. Martin?
Yes, Paul, I agree. I think of course there will be some, and already also some functionality and some services that were performed by the MSP that becomes obsolete with the features that comes out with the platform. But that also brings a huge opportunity to actually add even more value and come closer to the business once some of the base services that you provide perhaps is obsolete. So I think there's a huge opportunity there. Also, the platform as a whole continues to evolve, becomes bigger and more complex. So guidance to the customer in that platform, and understanding their business, understanding what tools they should use for their business from the platform, and how to run it effectively. That will, I believe, continue to increase services for the MSP to provide.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking, you inspired me to think back. If you go back 8 or 10 years, most solution providers had a bunch of Exchange engineers on their staff, right? Because all customers or most customers had Exchange on premise, and it needed support. Yeah. And Exchange, and Exchange was one of the first things that went to the cloud, and all of the need for those on-staff Exchange engineers went away, right? Mm-hmm. Did we shrink? Did we not figure out how to provide value in a new world where Exchange was in the cloud? No, we absolutely do. And so, it happens, and we adjust, and that's because, as you say, that the platform gets increasingly powerful and delivers increasing benefits to the end customer, but requires increasing support, just not as fast, not as quickly as the productivity gains occur. So it's a win-win.
Thank you so much, Martin and Paul. That was super useful, and it sort of made me realize that we are all part of a very dynamic business and very dynamic times, and it's imperative for us to shift and change along with the times and along with our customers' needs. So thank you for that. With that, I'll hand over to Laura now. Again, I just want to thank all of the participants for their time. We really value that you've spent an hour in these times to be with us, and hope you can join us again. So Laura, over to you now.
Thanks, Neha. I appreciate that. I have posted a link to a short survey in the Q&A panel. We value your feedback and welcome your input on how we did today and what you'd like to see in future sessions. The survey scores are on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score possible, and we thank you for your participation in that. As a reminder, the recording and a copy of the presentation deck from today's session will be available within 7 business days. Please look for an email from Worldwide Learning in the coming days with details on how to access those. I'd like to extend a big thank you to all of our presenters today, and thank you, audience, for logging in and joining us. Please stay safe and have a great rest of your day or evening. Goodbye.